okay, you are stable. But this brother who is seemingly having a vision, but is broke, busted, and disgusted, how do you then strike a balance as in trying to either invest in him or bring him to your level so that you can actually now be perfectly matched?
So is this a situation where there is a brother?
Ideally, there are a number of them. But you're a lady, but you're already on this level, and the brothers seemingly financially, possibly, they are down or they're below you.
So for me, I think beyond the financial muscle is like how visionary are they? You know,
how do you bring it out?
Yes, by conversation, I think. You know, because I think like the example I gave of my husband, he didn't have all these things, but he did have the brain. He was a leader. He knew who he was. So even when we were in that relationship, he wasn't intimidated. And he was aware that he married a woman who was already working. So for me, first of all, I want to discourage those ladies that feel pity for men and they want to marry the men because, well, I want to build him beyond looking at other components that they desire for a man, you know, to have. I don't know if you're making sense.
You're making sense.
So beyond just feeling pity for this guy, like what kind of a guy is he? Like right now we have a lot of stories. I don't know if you call them. Is it Marios? I know it's not. It's a bad. I don't know. Yeah. Obviously, I didn't want to say that, you know. And forgive me. But then
they're the ones in the gyms. Oh, sorry. We know a lot of, not you, but those ones that are usually in the gyms.
You see what I mean? And they're okay to be sponsored by a woman, and I think it's wrong. You know, and I think that even before a guy gets married, at least have some basics. You know, you might not have a permanent job or a permanent business, but at least have some hustle. Because as a man, you need to provide. You know, you can't have zero and want to get married. Where will you get the bride price from? Where are you going to get other things from? And if the woman is there, like I think there's a certain imbalance that comes in. Like obvious marriages work, but there's a certain imbalance that comes in if a guy gets in a relationship because this girl has the money. Because it will be difficult for you to lead. Are you getting what I'm saying? Because this girl provides everything to top that up. You don't know who you are. You don't know your purpose. You don't know your assignment. You know, and then now when you get in marriage, you start to expect this woman who has a 9 to 5 to come back home and cook for you and behave like a traditional woman. When you're just at home watching TV, it doesn't make sense, you know what I mean? And you should even feel comfortable if a woman is sponsoring you. Like, you shouldn't be happy, you know? You can't have a blazer with a female, like, it doesn't work. No, it doesn't work. And use some initiative, to be honest, because, like, unfortunately, like, I've seen a lot of women, like, anyway, most young women, ladies that I interact with, they're not after men who have money. They just want men who have a brain. Who are visionary, you see what I mean? Who are responsible, you know what I mean? I know some words are not really nice, but who are responsible? Like, honestly, things like, and us women, we observe, by the way. We observe, you know. If we see you come to visit us, we are students a couple of times, and when you come, you just want to eat, you don't leave anything. You know what I mean? Like, we'll be observing. Yes, we know it's Pastor Ngosa. Yes, Pastor Chitech.
God bless you.
God bless. Oh, the meal was nice. Do you have some water so I could, or some juice? You see what I mean? And you're okay with that. You're visiting a female student who's also a student. You go and eat food at their place because you're a pastor in charge of the fellowship. It doesn't work like that. You can't take a woman on a date, for example, and then you expect her to pay for everything. You don't even know how she came and how she's going back. You're like, oh, it was nice meeting you, we had fun, okay, bye-bye.
And you eat a lot.
You order a lot.
I don't think it's, no, I don't know. I remember, like, with my husband there, sometimes I used to pay for meals, but you could see how uncomfortable it was.
It's unprofessional, man.
Like, you
once or twice, yes, it's acceptable.
Like, he was, like, he didn't like that. And you could see how he tried to push himself, find pieces of work and so on, just to prove that. And for me, that's what I loved. Because if you can do that in a relationship, I know you can do that in a marriage. You shouldn't be so comfortable. So even the ladies that are happening, like, I just pray that God will give you a man, because it's also possible to find a man that is also happening. But beyond, like, what they have and what they don't have, like, you need a man that will sort of even captivate you, because sometimes they'll be intimidated.
Sure.
You see what I mean? You get married to them and they're like, what? You know, this and that, and they start to, you know, to suffocate your gift and everything that you are. Yeah, so even when you talked about flexibility, but I think it's important if the guys that Pastor Ngosa is still mentoring are not yet ready, let's give him some time. to do his job and mentor these guys.
Yeah.
You know, because I think that sometimes men just have to man up and do the right thing. And lastly but not the least, I think there's a gap where mentorship is concerned.
Sure.
You know, I always talk about this with my husband, and I will look at him, but like I always feel bad that most of the females that I mentor, like, are ready to settle, they are not materialistic and so on.
Sure.
And just the guys are just below par.
par.
Like, even the things that they need to use their self-control for, they can't.
Yeah.
But I think it's a mentorship issue. You know, they talk about guys in the church, because I know they want to marry in church, are boring, you know, and they end up with the bad guys that are just after their bodies, but they are sort of tickling their brain and their ears. You see what I mean?
No, I
you know? And for me, I believe that you don't have to be sexual to be romantic. There are other ways that you can do. But I think we need a lot of mentorship in the church, especially for the men. Mentorship in terms of, like, how do you treat a woman? What is your responsibility? How do you solidify your identity in Christ?
True.
You know, and so on and so forth.
True.
You know?
I hear you on that.
You hear me, right?
This is something that we've been discussing, I think, in a lot of forums. Men need to actually man up. We have a lot of men who are boys and trying to pretend to be men,
I like how you put it.
because I think there's last time I think we had a conversation, I heard you somewhere where we were talking about the insecures, you know. I think that's where certain things have been discussed, you know. I think we need to stop. As good as football is good and people love soccer and all, but instead of discussing who won and everything, we can begin to discuss these things. But also, true to your words, I think it's an issue of mentorship, but also it's who is seeking mentorship, who would be ready to mentor, but are the ones that are below seeking for mentorship. Because actually, the right word is willingness. Because I wouldn't just come and just begin to talk anyhow. I need you to ask the right questions, then we'll be able to give you the right things.
Actually, there was like one example, like during this meeting we were preparing for the young adults, the one that had over Kapnani Zingati.
We had over 750 attenders, man.
And we had limited spots, you know, and there were a lot of like discussions that came up. But then one of them was like sad, because we're talking about mentorship, where one of these people, you know, who's like a leader, right? Well respected by, in this case, say Pastor Ngosa, because he's heading like fellow leaders under the youth ministry, and telling the girl and say, look, like, I don't care what Pastor Ngosa says. Yes, he's a leader, but I'm a man. I make my own decisions, you know, and having completely wrong ideologies. You know what I mean? Yes, but they're a leader, you know, and Pastor Ngosa respects them. Just an example, right? You know, and then they're telling this girl who's ready for marriage, to say, look, like, we don't need mentorship. You know, like, it's just the two of us. We can do crazy stuff, you know. Even people have their own lives. They don't have to tell us their experiences. We need things like that.